3 words changed my day. A client said these words to me during a session, and I wrote them down because I knew I would need them someday. Well, today was that day. I woke up super low energy, just nothing to say, just, questioning the world, just all of it. And then I opened my notes, and there they were. Embrace the suck. Let's talk about it. Welcome to A Beautiful Fix. I'm Tracy Hill. Each week we'll dive into the latest thought gem, recharging and reconnecting with what lights you up and makes you feel alive. Let's discover your next beautiful fix together. Hey, real quick before we dive in, you're powerful. And sometimes you just need someone to remind you what's already in you. That's what human design does. It's the difference between guessing and knowing. So you can stop searching outside yourself and start trusting the answers within. I promise you they're there. Grab your free chart at abeautifulfix.com, and when you're ready to go deeper, book a one-to-one session with me. All right, let's get into the episode. Today I want to talk about something that does not get enough airtime and deserves its moment in the spotlight, the days when it is not beautiful, the days when it just sucks, And what do you do with that? So, as you know by now, one of the experiences that I offer are human design sessions. And a while back, I had a session with a client named Deanna. And Deanna is one of those women who, when you talk to her, you think, how does she do it? Because here's what Deanna had been living with. She discovered toxic mold in her home. 6 different species of it, running through her system for years without her knowing. And in her own words, she said, my brain was literally moldy. And while she was in the middle of her own health crisis, her husband was diagnosed with lymphoma, cancer. Both of them sick at the same time in a moldy house with no clear answers. And somehow in the middle of all of that, Deanna did something beautiful. And I asked her if she wouldn't mind if I shared her story with you today. And she graciously said yes. Thank you, Deanna. She turned every single chemo appointment into a picnic. Her husband's sessions were 8 hours long. I don't want to do anything for 8 hours, So Deanna decided they were going to Italy. It's about the same amount of hours that it takes to go to Italy, 8 hours, right? So her husband was in first class on the lounger, and she was back in coach in the chair. Every single time they had a chemo appointment, they would pretend that he was in first class while she was in coach. They packed their picnic. They played it up. They just made it an adventure. And on his last day of chemo, she made him a book documenting the whole journey. And then when he went back to work, over 70 of his coworkers showed up wearing Snyder Strong t-shirts. Snyder is their last name because Deanna had texted his boss that hashtag Snyder Strong. And when he walked in, he was overwhelmed with gratitude and touched beyond measure. And he's now what they call NED, no evidence of disease. And when I asked Deanna how she navigated all of it, she explained that she simply learned to try to not label things good or bad because at the time it feels like this sucks. But when you look back, sometimes you can see the gift or the lesson in it. And then she said my 3 new favorite words: embrace the suck. She told me that that's not an original. She didn't make that up, but I loved it. And I did a little research of my own, and don't quote me on this, but I believe This was a phrase from the military. I think the Marines came up with this back when they were in Iraq. And this is during a time where they needed to keep going through things that they couldn't change. So this phrase traveled from a battlefield to a chemo chair and to a human design session. And now it is here, and I'm sharing it with you today. Because the thing about embracing the suck, I mean, this idea is ancient. In Buddhism, there's a concept called dukkha. It translates roughly as suffering or dissatisfaction. And the teaching is this: suffering does not come from the hard thing itself. It comes from our resistance to it, from our attachment to how we want things to be rather than accepting how they actually are. So when we like something, we want it to stay. And when we don't, we want it to leave. So it's the clinging to either one. That's where the unnecessary suffering lives. You also hear this concept of non-attachment in the yogic tradition. And I have been trying to teach my sons this their whole lives. It's so much easier said than done. I mean, I can use daily reminders of this myself. But basically, when something hard happens, before they label it as bad, I try to redirect them. It just is. For this moment, it just is. What looks like the worst thing today might be the thing you look back on as the turning point. You can't always know in the moment. Deanna knew this in her bones. She did not pretend that chemo was anything other than what it was. She got in the chair. She called it coach. She packed the picnic. She made the best version of the thing that she could not change. That is the work, and it is harder than it sounds. When you were going through the unthinkable, just the pure mental exhaustion, let alone the physical, and then to try to be creative with it and positive, it takes a strong, beautiful soul, and that is certainly Deanna. And, as for me, I struggle today. Compared to the stories I just shared with you, I just need to shut my trap. I mean, you can't even hold a stick to it. But I just woke up in one of those days, where you just wake up, no rhyme or reason, but energy is just kind of low. I wasn't sure what to record and if it would even happen. But what kept me going was one thing. I said I would do this every week for you. For the one woman out there who might be counting on this to show up in her earbuds on a Wednesday or whenever you choose to listen. I also know myself well enough to know that if I break this habit once, one time, all bets are off. If I break a habit, it's so hard for me to get back on the horse again. The consistency is the thing. The showing up is the thing, even when it feels like nothing. That is embracing the suck in its most unglamorous form. When no one's watching, when no one's clapping, just a commitment you made and the choice to keep it. I have friends right now going through things that make my low energy days look like nothing. People for whom the suck is very real and very heavy. This episode is for them too. So if that is you, if you are in the middle of something hard right now, you do not have to make it beautiful. You do not have to reframe it into something it is not. You just have to get through it. One day, 1 hour, one picnic at a time, if that is what it takes. The beautiful fix is not always pretty. Sometimes it is just showing up anyway. So here's what I want to leave you with today. What is the thing in your life right now that you have been labeling as bad? The situation that you've been resisting or fighting or just wishing it was different. What would it look like to stop labeling it and just be in it for a moment? And then ask yourself, how can I make this suck a little less? A picnic? A hashtag? A book? whatever your version of first class on a chemo lounger looks like. You see, Deanna did not wait for things to get easier before she started living fully. She did it right in the middle of the hard thing. That is the beautiful fix. So thank you for being here today, especially today. If this episode meant something to you, share it with someone who needs it. Leave a review if you have not yet. It genuinely helps more women find their way here. And Deanna, thank you for the quote, for the story, for being exactly the kind of woman this show exists for. And until next time, keep getting high on life, one beautiful fix at a time. Thanks for listening to A Beautiful Fix. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a quick review to help others find us. And if you'd like to share your own beautiful fix or join me as a guest, reach out anytime at Tracy@abeautifulfix.com. Looking forward to next time.